Hey guys, Ben here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 5, and we are finally here with my review for Episode 1. I'm so excited to be getting back into the reviews. It's so exciting. The Flash is back, and we've got a great episode to break down and review for you guys. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you're new, so you don't miss any DC TV videos later this year. So, wow, I am so satisfied. This episode was excellent. I'm saying there's barely anything that I have wrong with it, and straight up, I'm telling you, it's a 5 out of 5. What a great start to the season. Love the tone. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about that stuff later in this review, and as for you guys that have been watching me for the past few seasons, you know in my reviews for the TV shows, I like to go in depth and talk about a lot to do with the plot, but also I'll talk about, you know, how it felt overall, like the tone and what it felt like overall, because remember, this is a breakdown and a review. So let's get right into this. So the biggest thing in the episode, and we're not doing it in chronological order, we're just breaking it down, and that was that after Nora had been introduced and we had that really nice twist opening, and there was different reveals with the timeline being changed as she helped Barry, and Nora's a CSI, different things like that are revealed, and we get that sort of connection builds between Nora and Barry, although there is that obvious divide between Nora and Barry at the start due to Barry feeling like he can't do anything. She needs to stay silent, do nothing, so she can't change the timeline. So obviously he's being very skeptical, and he feels like Nora being here is wrong, as Barry doesn't, number one, want to change the timeline, but also it's going to change his impact on what those first moments is going to be like, taking her to school, doing things like that. That has a big emphasis on the episode, but all has changed when Nora reveals to him the future. So we get to go to the 2024 newspaper article, and it's switched. And I'm not even lying, guys, I had major chills, and this is something that has been built up since the start of season 1, and it's revealed that he is in fact missing for 25 years. So that's 2049. Obviously 2048 is a big thing in the Flash TV show, so that's a link to that. And he never came back. So essentially Nora grew up by herself with her mum, that being Iris, and all the things she knows about Barry is from the Flash Museum, and she has studied everything to do with her father's past because she grew up without Barry, which is just so exciting to me. I'm so excited to see Nora's journey and Barry's journey into how they're going to try and get Barry back in the future and to make him return, which is just crazy. So this links into all timeline theories. We can do other videos on that, but anyway, let's move on. Barry, at the end of that scene, he cries, and it's really touching because you feel that connection, and the fact that Barry's not going to be there in this version of the timeline when Nora's growing up just is devastating for him, because as we said, there are some great West Allen moments in this episode building up to this scene, talking about Nora growing up and, you know, the ideas of parenthood, and this rips Barry apart, and it's really touching. And so moving on, it's revealed that Nora isn't stuck here. At one point they say that Nora can't get back to the future because she has negative tachyons, but it's revealed later that Nora has used some sort of device to make her tachyons negative, so she can't return to the future, so she can fake it in order to stay with her dad. So that was really great. I love that reveal. And furthering on from that, as I said, Nora is absolutely great in this episode. I loved Jessica Parker Kennedy. That connection with Barry, that connection with Iris and with everyone else was truly there, and I loved the West Allen and West family moments, especially at the end. It was just super touching, and just different things like that. It's a very season 1 like episode, and it really made me happy because I wasn't happy with season 4, as you know, and this is the perfect new start for them, and I'm just so excited. I love the balance and tone. I felt like there were comedic moments that were very well timed rather than forced like a lot of last season. And even Ralph, I enjoyed Ralph in this episode. I didn't like him last season. I felt like he was too forced, but I enjoyed him here. So, you know, I think Nora brings that balance, and also there's that element of darkness. We'll talk about the end credit scene of the episode, which is obviously very dark. So in the episode we get a number of shout outs to different people from the future due to Nora being from the future, and she can't keep her mouth shut. She's like Barry, she just says everything, and she can't help but change the timeline. So we get a shout out to Lightning Lad, confirming that Lightning Lad is around in the future and potentially is on this Earth, and with Nora, with XS in the comics being part of the Legion of Superheroes, potentially she may be linked to the Legion of Superheroes. Also, we get a shout out to the Mob Rule, which in the comics was a team of villains, but obviously Barry had to stop them in the future, and that was just a nice shout out to something from the comics. Also, we got a shout out to Ryan Choi, which is another major DC superhero, which is kind of crazy. I was kind of freaking out because in the comics, the Atom is Ryan Choi, the person that comes after Ray Palmer. And so does this mean that Ray dies in the future? Does this mean that he retires and then Ryan Choi becomes part of Team Flash? That is very, very exciting to me because this gives away so many possibilities. Maybe Ray does in fact die, and maybe we'll see him on the show sometime, which is very crazy to me, and I love that shout out. And so if we move on past this, we get another shout out to King Shark versus Grodd. So that is an incoming fight, an incoming major episode that should be coming maybe this season or next season or something like that, because they just dropped that major hint, and that excites me a lot. One thing obviously I was like about in the episode was Cecile, because apparently she still has her powers. Wasn't a fan of that last season. We'll see how it was. It was a small little moment, so that doesn't really take away anything. But the villain of the week, Gridlock, was actually rather good. I enjoyed him. He was only a minimal villain. You could barely see him in the episode, but the moments he had was good. So no complaints there, and he also set up probably one of the best scenes of the episode, which was the plane phasing scene, where, number one, Barry uses the flash ring. We get that animation. It looks so cool. It's straight from the comics. Barry, Nora, and Wally work together, and it's some amazing shots from above on the building where Cisco is, and you get to see them running together. It's awesome. And also, probably one of my favorite parts of the episode in regards to that was Barry using the reverse flash speech to Nora, which was crazy. I had chills again. So a few parts of this episode just, shook me to my spine because it took me back, and I felt like that was amazingly executed with that callback to season 1. And also there was a really funny line that Ralph had, considering that he talked about his death if he actually died due to a timeline change, and in fact in season 1 they said Ralph Dibny died, which is a nice little nod to that. Obviously you can infer the timeline changes saved Ralph in this iteration. But Barry, Wally and Nora phase after Barry does that speech, and it's so awesome. You get to see the plane phasing through buildings and phasing through a bridge, which is right out of the comics, which is very exciting. And now we go to the end of the episode. So Barry reveals that he wants to keep Nora around, and then Wally explains, due to soft changes in the timeline, Nora should be able to stay here because it's nothing too big, but if they change anything too big, it can be very impactful, like as Barry says, changing his mother's death, because that changed the entire future. So for now she's going to be around, but obviously there is going to be at one point when she's going to be changing the future so much that everything's going to go into chaos. That is bound to happen. And we get some really nice touching West Allen moments, especially at the end of the episode when you get to see Iris crying, and with Barry talking, they talk about that they get their happy ending, and I'm afraid not, Iris. That obviously harks back to the 2049 newspaper article that we got now, with Barry actually going missing and never coming back, and so that's just like a major punch into Barry, as obviously Barry knows but Iris doesn't know yet. I wonder when they will actually reveal that. And also another major shout out and another major setup for the entire season is the Killer Frost stuff with Caitlin, as Ralph gets her dad's death certificate, which was actually a fake because the person that signed off on it was called Cameron Marquent. So I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that is crazy because in the comics Cameron is in fact Icicle. So that's a massive shout out to who potentially Killer Frost's dad, obviously Caitlin's dad, is going to be. Maybe he was Icicle all those years ago. And finally I want to talk about the monologues and things that happened with that and how I felt about that. I felt like it was really well done. I felt like I really felt it, although there was a little bit of cringy dialogue, but it's all very Bart Allen, as the word shui, which was repeated many times in the episode, is actually a Bart Allen word from the comics, which is very exciting with all these Easter eggs. And so I am super happy with how Nora has been portrayed, and already you can feel that father-daughter connection with those two and also with everyone else and Iris obviously, which is very exciting to me because this makes me even more excited for the season, which I'm just super excited to see how this goes. Also, let's go on to the end credits scene. Cicada is revealed. Cicada supposedly kills the Meta, and I have to say, his voice is awesome. I love supervillain voices. I love Zoom's voice. I love Savitar's voice. You know, it just so excites me when I hear a cool voice, because the Thinker was like, oh my god, what is he? He didn't have a cool voice, which obviously isn't a must-need, but it makes them cooler, and it makes them more scary. And I love his mask, and the way he looks is very, very dark, and I love what they've set up, this sort of darker tone that can go with the sort of season 1 type feel that I'm getting, which is a mix between dark, sadness, and also happiness, and a bit of humor here and there, which is very exciting to me. So overall, this episode was excellent. It was all that I wanted. Like I said, very little gripes with the episode, and I love the tone change, how it was just, you know, sort of flat, and there was bits of comedy, bits of darkness, you know, bits of sadness. You know, I felt like they balanced it really well. And also, there was not much Cecile. I'm not a big fan of Cecile, as you guys know. Also, I felt like Ralph was very good in this episode, so that's a big change for me. And yeah, so I felt like overall this episode deserves a 5 stars out of 5. In conclusion, the premiere manages to recapture what was so good about the show before, with the balance in tone, the dark and the light, and also the addition of Nora is outstanding, which is very exciting. So anyway guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, I'll have my trailer breakdown out later today, so stick around for that, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
It doesn't make us strong, it doesn't make us weak. Tongue tied to service like sharp